All right, guys, Mr. Antonucci here. And in this video, I want to share with you my top 10 tips for success in your AP statistics course this year. Now, if you look online, you'll see a lot of videos and blog posts about tips for how to do well on the AP statistics exam. But I wanted to make a video to help you have success going into the course at the beginning of the year. So you kind of know what to look out for, what to do so that all along the year, you're preparing yourself to do as well as you can. So the first thing that I want to point out is that you need to know the formulas for this. And what I mean by that is you're going to learn a lot of formulas throughout the year. You have to know when to use them, how to use them, and how to interpret the results of those formulas. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, you're not going to have to memorize them. In fact, I would recommend you don't waste time memorizing them, because AP statistics is not about being able to regurgitate formulas for the sake of being able to regurgitate them. It's to know when to use the formulas, how to use the formulas, and then how to interpret the results. Those are the big pieces, not necessarily memorizing them. In fact, they'll give you a pretty extensive formula sheet for the AP exam, and I recommend you definitely familiarize yourself with it as you go throughout the year. If you look at it right at the beginning of the year, you'll probably have no clue what most of the things mean. Second tip is know when and how to use your calculator. So something to keep in mind, just because you're allowed to use a calculator doesn't mean every single problem or situation that you encounter is going to require a calculator. So you have to play this delicate balance of when to use your calculator and how to use it. Also, don't use calculator speak. You're going to learn how to enter certain things into a calculator to get the calculator to perform tests and different things like that. And you're supposed to use correct statistical notation and language, and not just the text that you enter into the calculator. So be careful with that. The third thing is avoid rounding errors. And here's what I mean. Lots of steps require, lots of problems require multiple steps. And so if you round the first step and then use that answer to get the next step, and then you round that answer to get the next step, and you do that a couple of times, by the time you get to your final answer and you round it, you may have rounded so many times that your final answer ends up being wrong because of all of the rounding errors. So a good rule of thumb is to not round any intermediate steps and only round when you get to your final answer. And then, unless it's otherwise specified, the rule of thumb I kind of like to use is round to 3 decimal places. Okay. So number 4 is make flashcards. You're going to come across a lot of statistical notation as well as vocabulary and terminology. And it's very important that you are fluent with it and precise with it. Okay. Because a lot of words in statistics speak of similar things. For example, mean and median. Those are talking about the center of a set of data, but they mean different things. They indicate different things. So it's very important that you understand the distinction between mean and median and know when to use which one and what they mean. Making flashcards is going to help you with this. And as you go through the year, I recommend you start at the beginning of the year and make flashcards and just continue to make them and review them as you go through the year. Now, there are some online resources that you can go to that have flashcards already made up, and you can just do a quick Google search for AP statistics flashcards. Number 5 is know the statistical vocabulary and how to use it appropriately. So I kind of covered this in the make the flashcards tip, but this tip is follows from that. You need to know the vocabulary and the terminology and how to use it. You're going to be doing a lot of writing, and we'll kind of get into this in a little bit in AP statistics, more than you're typically used to in like a regular math course. So it's very important that you understand the vocabulary, how to use it, and how to construct your justifications and conclusions using correct statistical vocabulary. And I would also say correct statistical notation. Number 6, my 6th tip is know how to construct and interpret graphs and data displays. Again, you can't always rely on the calculator to create a data display. You're going to have box plots, you're going to have stem and leaf plots, you're going to have histograms. There are a lot of different types of graphs. Now, you don't have to do a Google search and search for every type of graph and data display that's out there and memorize them all, but be familiar with them and know how they work, know how to correctly label them and create a key if you need to create a key. And also how to interpret what they're saying. Again, as you go through the course, you're going to learn some of these things, but having a heads up to know to pay special attention to them is very, very helpful to your success this year. Also, in statistics, you're not really going to have to create your own computer printout or output, but a lot of statistics is done using computers and then being able to take what the computer outputs as a printout, so to speak, and being able to understand what it's telling you. So as you go throughout the year, you're going to have different examples that have computer printout snapshots, like a screenshot of what a computer output would be. And you're going to have to understand how to interpret what it's saying, because the computer printouts have abbreviations and different things. And so when you come across them and you're told and taught what those different components mean, make sure you know that. Make sure you understand that. Number 8 is know when and how to use the 4-step problem-solving plan. And this is another important piece, because this really, really helps you keep all your information organized and present it in a way that is beneficial to you and the person grading your work, whether it's your teacher or the person grading your AP exam. There are 4 steps in the 4-step problem-solving plan. 1 is state what you're going to do. Plan, and this is usually the plan step is often you're going to check the conditions that to make sure they're satisfied so that you can do what you're going to do. And then the 3rd step is do. That's actually like where you do the actual work, the calculations, and so forth and so on. And then D is conclude, and this is where you write your conclusion. And there's going to be different ways to write conclusions, and they're very specific. And so it's very important that you, and this, I would call this tip 8B, if you will, is when you write conclusions, stick to the format that you're instructed. They're going to be very precise about certain components that you need in your conclusion, and it's very important that you stick to that. So if you just remember state, plan, do, conclude, it almost rhymes, doesn't really, but almost. State, plan, do, conclude. Memorize that, and know when and how to use it. Again, right now, stepping into the course, you don't know when to use it or even how to use it. But again, I'm trying to raise your awareness so that when it does come up, you're like, oh, this is important. I remember seeing Mr. Antonucci's video on that. Number 9, get help when you don't understand. In my years of teaching, I've been teaching for over 15 years, I can't stress this enough. Get help when you don't understand. I've seen students get stuck on a concept and then they don't get help, and it kind of snowballs from there. Get help when you don't understand. And number 10, be a good student. Now, you'll find these tips all over the place, and you probably know a lot of them, but I just want to reiterate them because they're so important. Make sure you attend each class. Make sure you attend each class. Get to your classes. Pay attention during class and take detailed notes, because your notes are what you're going to be able to read through. And again, I would add also, make sure you read through the textbook that goes along with what you're studying in your lessons so that you can better understand what's going on. Part C, ask clarifying questions during your class, or if it's outside of class time, send an email or a message, or communicate that you have a question, even if it's not something you don't understand, but you just have a question about it or you need something clarified. You have to be an advocate for yourself. Next, rework lesson examples on your own. When I was in college, and this was so very beneficial to me, when I would rework the examples on my own, I would take I would attend every class I could. I would take detailed notes. And then when I was studying for a test or a quiz or just trying to learn the information, I would take the examples from class, do them on my own, and then compare them with my notes to see, was I learning? And sometimes it's just learning that process. It's very, very helpful. Same thing with doing assignment problems. If there are certain assignment problems that are tricky, make sure you figure out what the right answer is, which leads me to part F, is attend office hours regularly if your instructor offers them, so that you can go over those questions that in assignment problems that were tricky, so that you know how to answer them correctly, and then you can redo them on your own again and see if you can get the right answer. And not just get the right answer, but understand how to construct that answer and the process and how to think about a problem. All right. So guys, that was my 10 tips for success in AP statistics this year. I'd recommend you took notes on this and write these 10 tips down and follow them throughout the year so that you can have success. So by the time you're ready to take the AP stats exam or your final exam for your AP stats course, you are well prepared. All right, guys, hope that was helpful. Take care.